I'm Sherry Ott. I'm a travel blogger for ottsworld.com, and I'm an ambassador for Vim and Vigor compression socks. I've traveled for about 11 years prior to that, on many, many flights all around the world. This one was the one that actually did me in, I suppose. I was very lucky with. I was heading to India with my niece. She had never been out of the country before. So I was really excited she wanted to go to India, and I was really excited to take her. And because she had never been out of the country before and on few flights, I let her have the window seat because I thought it would be really exciting for her, which meant I sat in the middle seat. We were on a flight from, I think it was New York City to Delhi, which is about 13 hours. Prior to getting there, we had a whole bunch of issues with delays and so on. So needless to say, by the time I got on that flight, I think it was around 11 p.m., and I was stressed. Not only was I responsible for her, we didn't think we were going to make our flight, etc. We did. So it was great. And we got into our seats. I settled into that middle seat and had a couple of glasses of wine because I had finally made it on this flight. We were going to make it to Delhi on time. I promptly fell asleep after that. And strangely, ironically, it was probably one of the best times I ever slept on a plane. I remember it that well. So I slept for a good 5 hours probably before I woke up. I probably got up maybe once or twice during that whole flight, the whole 13 hours. Didn't think anything of it. It's what I normally did. We got to India, and probably about 2 days after arriving in Delhi, I noticed that I had a pain in my calf. And I just thought it was weird. I thought it was a cramp, and I attributed it to it's India. There's more pollution. It's super hot in Delhi. It was the summer. It was August. Didn't think much of it. In fact, as we traveled throughout India, I even got a massage because I thought, I have this cramp in my calf, and I need to try to work it out. The other thing that happened while I was in India was that I had a little, we were laughing, and when I was laughing, I had this little pain in my chest at one point. It went away right away, so didn't really think anything of it. We fly all the way back on a flight again from Frankfurt to Denver, so another 13+ hour flight. And I didn't feel really great on that flight, and by that time I had developed a weird cough, which once again, India, I thought it was the pollution. I didn't really think it was anything else. And about 3 days later, after being home in Denver, this cough kept on getting worse. I finally called the doctor thinking that it was bronchitis and I just needed antibiotics. And thank you to a very diligent doctor on the phone who asked me to come into the urgent care because she thought that I had DVT. She thought that I had a blood clot. And I honestly said to her, no, there's no way I have a blood clot. I didn't think it was possible. I've traveled all over. I'm young. I'm in shape. I just didn't think it could be. She convinced me. She's like, well, let's rule it out. And I told her I was busy. She probably saved my life because she's like, let me check the urgent care lines and see which one is the least busy because I had an event I had to go to that night. So when I went to urgent care, they got me in right away and did a number of tests. Each one kind of kept on ruling in, actually, that I could potentially have DVT, Deep Vein Thrombosis, which is a blood clot. Eventually, when the doctor came in and told me, yes, indeed, I had 3 pulmonary emboli in my lungs, that meant that those were blood clots that had actually lodged in my lungs. That means that they started in my legs. They broke loose when I was in India, traveled up, and lodged themselves in my lungs. Still, even though she was sitting here telling me this, because I didn't think anything like this could happen to me, but then as I replayed it all in my head, I realized everything I had done wrong and that all the signs were there. I sat in a middle seat, so I didn't get up as much. I normally always sit in an aisle seat. One of the best things you can do on a plane is get up and walk around because that blood doesn't pool in your calves. And of course I was, sitting in economy class, so you're a little bit more susceptible to it there because you're not lying flat. So not only did I not get up when I slept for that good hard 5 hours, I drank alcohol, which dehydrates you and gives you more of a chance to have something like that happen. This I learned after the fact, which I had no idea, which is I was on birth control pills, and women who are on birth control pills are way more susceptible to getting DVT when they're not walking around. That was huge to me. And you have one of these aha moments where you're like, why don't more people know this? Like, I didn't know that at all. All of those things kind of combined, the non-movement, the drinking alcohol, prescriptions that you're on have an effect. And women are more susceptible to them. I don't know how I was so lucky all the other hundreds of times that I've flown, for longer than 3 hours. I know that I'm really lucky because once the blood clots must have broken off and came up into my lungs, that's the point at which you've got really a 50-50 chance of living, because those blood clots can end up as a stroke, as in your brain, all kinds of things can happen at that point. I was just lucky that all they did was lodge in my lungs, yet had I not gone in, if the doctor hadn't urged me to come in and at least do the tests, that right there would have done me in eventually. It was like everything changes like that, and they were whisking, blood thinners into me immediately, because that's really the only thing you can do at that point is try to break up the blood clots and break them up in your lungs too. So that put me on a strict regimen of blood thinners for the next 6 months. 8 months, something like that. Now it certainly drives me to educate more people, more women, no matter what age, the importance of getting up and walking around, drinking water, not having a whole bunch of alcohol, and wearing compression socks.